So this is Johnny. Johnny's been trying to find a product to sell on Amazon for 3 months now. He's been going round and round in circles and he's no further along than when he first got started. Does this sound familiar? So this is what happens to the majority of new sellers on Amazon, and the reason for it is that you don't have a proper framework that you can follow that's going to help you understand exactly what you need to be looking for. So it's your lucky day, because in this video I'm going to be sharing a 4-step framework to help you find your first product that you can sell on Amazon. So if you follow each of these steps, I guarantee that you're going to find product research way easier. Step 1. Verify demand. So this is the basis of everything, and it's a common mistake that people still make. So they don't verify that a product or a niche has got enough demand. So the easiest way to do this is with a tool called Helium 10, and this is where you can look at a niche and you can see the sales of all of the top sellers, and you can also see the keyword search volumes for all of the top keywords. Now, one very important caveat to this that almost everybody gets wrong is that the demand needs to be relative to your budget. So what I mean by this is, if you only have $6,000 to invest in a product, then you probably shouldn't be looking at the same niches as somebody that has $20,000 to invest. You've got to verify the demand for sure, but that demand, it needs to be in line with your actual budget. And there's a very simple way to understand exactly the size of the niche that you should be looking at based on your budget. And if you stick around to the end of the video, I'm going to show you a super easy rule of thumb so that you can understand exactly how to do that. Alright, so step 2 is differentiation. So after you verify that there's a good demand and that demand aligns with your budget, you've got to see how you can stand out. There's millions of products on Amazon, and if you don't stand out, then honestly, you're just not going to succeed. So there's a few ways that you can look at standing out, and the first one is with a VSP. So a VSP is a visual selling point. So this might be a completely crazy brand design with different colors and different branding than your competitors. A really good example of this is a brand called Zesty Paws. So Zesty Paws is a pet supplements brand, and they actually exited and they sold their business for over $600 million in 2021. So Zesty Paws, they stand out so much because they have this big, bright and beautiful orange packaging. So when you're scrolling through Amazon, you can easily see their products and they really stand out against the rest of the pet supplements brands. So the second way that you can look to stand out is with an actual USP. So this is something that your product offers in the form of functionality that the other products don't. So if people are looking at 10 different massage guns, for example, and yours has got a better battery that lasts 4 times longer than your competition, then that's a functional USP, and it really makes you stand out from the crowd. So at this stage of the process, your job is to get really creative. You've got to understand exactly what your target customer is looking for, and then you've got to understand how well what currently exists in that market is meeting those needs. So can you do something better than what currently exists? So when you're doing your research, you need to think of 2 things. One is how you would stand out visually with a beautiful looking brand that looks completely different to everything else that exists in the market. And then the second thing is to think, how can I actually improve the product to offer something different in terms of functionality? If you get into the habit of doing both of these things with everything that you look at, you're going to spot way more opportunities. Right, so step 3 is to check the level of competition. Now this step should really start to come naturally to you as you do more product research. But basically what we want to see is, who are we competing against in this niche? We need to assess the top sellers in the niche, and we need to look at a few different things. So the first one is the quality of their listings. So when you check through the top 5 to 10 sellers, how good are their listings? Do they use poor quality photos and cheap looking Photoshop? So at this stage, you really want to get a feel for how competitive the overall niche is. Are there huge brands like Anchor with tens of thousands of reviews and super high quality listings that are genuinely going to be difficult to compete against? Remember here, everything is relative, right? So the better your USP and the better your VSP, your visual selling point, the more competition that you can actually take on. But in reality, like I said, trying to compete against companies like Anchor is going to be very difficult for a new seller. All right, so step 4 is economics. So you verified that the niche has good demand and that demand aligns with your budget. You've got a great idea to create a beautiful looking brand, and you've also got ideas for how you can actually improve the product. You've taken a look at the niche and the competition, it's not crazy high, and you think that you can do a better job with your listing to really stand out. So now you need to know, does the product make sense in terms of your margins and your ROI? So this is where you need to contact suppliers through a site like Alibaba, and you need to get a rough idea of how much it's going to cost per unit to produce your product. So then you need to get a quote for shipping and duties. And the goal at this point is to understand what your landed cost will be. So your landed cost is how much it costs you to produce and then land that product in Amazon's warehouse. So for example, if I wanted to sell those massage guns that I was talking about, and I know I need to sell them for about $80, I probably need to land that massage gun in the US from China for less than $20. So a great rule of thumb for you to follow here is that you need to sell your product usually for at least 4 times whatever your landed cost is. So at the beginning of the video, I said that I'd give you a simple and quick way of understanding how your personal budget, it impacts the kind of niches that you should be going into. So I'm going to use John as an example. So John's got $8,000 in total to invest into his first product. But he started looking at massage guns because he sees people doing millions of dollars in sales every single month. But the mistake that John is making is he doesn't realize that he's got nowhere near enough cash to launch a massage gun. He would need to have enough money to keep up with the hundreds of sales that these top sellers are doing every single day. So you can imagine if they're doing hundreds of sales, how much stock that is and how much money you need to buy that stock. So a good rule of thumb that John should be following is that you're going to need at least 80% of your target monthly revenue to launch that product. So if John wants to launch a product and do $10,000 a month in revenue, he's going to need at least $8,000 to do so. So this covers the cost of everything, including his first and second orders of stock, which is something that a lot of people forget about. So let's say John, right, he looks at another niche where the top 5 to 10 sellers, they're doing about $50,000 a month in revenue. The reality is that if he only has $8,000, he just doesn't have enough money to compete with those sellers. He's never going to be able to buy enough stock to match their sales velocity. So this is literally one of the biggest mistakes that new sellers make. So myself and Tom, we've got an amazing budget calculator that we made for our Honest FBA students. So if you want to calculate exactly how much money you're going to need to launch a product, go and check out the link in the description. All right, so now you know exactly how to find your first product to sell on Amazon. You're going to need to know exactly how to contact suppliers, so go and check out this video here.